I never imagined I'd become the kind of woman who checks security footage at 2 in the morning, but there I was, sitting in my reading chair with my iPad, scrolling through 3 weeks of Ring doorbell recordings. Our Charleston home, a carefully restored 1840s single house on Trad Street, had 16-foot ceilings, original heart pine floors, and apparently, more secrets than I'd realized in 38 years of marriage. It started on a Tuesday in October. Robert had texted me around 6. Meeting running late. Don't wait up. Love you. I'd seen that message dozens of times over the years. My husband was a semi-retired architect who still consulted on historic preservation projects. Late meetings were normal. What wasn't normal was what I saw when I opened our Ring app to check if the lawn crew had closed the garden gate. There was Robert at 6:47 p.m., not leaving for a meeting, but loading an overnight bag into his Mercedes. He was wearing the navy blazer I'd pressed for him that morning, but he'd changed into different pants, the ones he wore to dinner parties, not client meetings. He looked around before closing the trunk. That look, that quick glance over his shoulder, made my stomach drop. I sat there in my kitchen, the one we'd renovated together 10 years ago with the marble countertops Robert had sourced from a salvage yard in Savannah, and I felt the world tilt slightly off its axis. I could have called him. I could have driven to his office. Instead, I opened my laptop. We'd installed the smart home system 2 years ago after a break-in on our street. Robert had insisted we get the premium package, doorbell camera, motion sensors, cloud storage for 60 days. He joked about becoming Big Brother. I'd never thought I'd use it to spy on my own husband. I started scrolling backward through the footage. October 15th, 6:52 p.m. Robert with the overnight bag. October 8th, 6:43 p.m. Same bag, different shirt. October 1st, there he was again. September 24th, September 17th. Always Tuesday evenings, always the overnight bag. Always that same furtive glance. My hands were shaking, but they weren't shaking with tears. I felt very calm, very cold, very clear. This wasn't grief yet. This was something else entirely. This was the feeling I used to get when I'd catch a student cheating on an exam and I already knew exactly how I was going to handle it. I taught AP English for 33 years. I knew how to build a case. I went to his computer in the study. Robert wasn't particularly tech-savvy. His password was our wedding anniversary. Inside his email, I found the paper trail I was looking for. Hotel confirmations from the Belmont Charleston place. Always the same Tuesday pattern. Always charged to the credit card I didn't monitor because it was supposedly for business expenses. The most recent confirmation was for tonight. Room 412. 2 guests. Checkout Wednesday 11 a.m. I took screenshots. I created a new folder on my laptop, password protected, labeled Garden Club 2024. I downloaded every hotel confirmation, every credit card statement. I checked our shared credit card and found charges I'd never noticed before. Hall's Chop House, Husk, Peninsula Grill, all the restaurants where Robert claimed he was having client dinners. All on Tuesday evenings, all for 2 people. Then I did something that surprised even myself. I opened Robert's text messages on the computer. He had them synced to iCloud, another thing he'd set up without really understanding the implications. There was a contact labeled M. Patterson, Project Manager. The messages started in June. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. Tuesday can't come soon enough. Wish we didn't have to hide like this. I read 3 months of messages. M. Patterson wasn't a project manager. M. Patterson was Melissa, 39 years old, an interior designer Robert had met through a client. The messages were full of plans and promises and the kind of intimacy that comes from months, not weeks, of involvement. In one message from August, she'd written, "When are you going to tell her?" Robert's response, "Soon. I just need to figure out the right way. She's been through so much with her sister's passing. I can't do it now." My sister Margaret had died in July. Robert had held my hand through the funeral, through the estate settling, through the long nights when I couldn't sleep, and apparently, through all of that, he was planning his exit strategy. I should have felt something then. Rage, maybe. Heartbreak. Instead, I felt that same crystalline clarity spreading through my chest like frost on a window. I took screenshots of everything. Then I checked the calendar. Today was October 22nd. Next Tuesday was October 29th. In the messages, I could see they'd already made plans. Melissa, same time next week? Robert, absolutely. Can't wait. That was sent 3 days ago. I sat there until 1 in the morning, scrolling through evidence, organizing files, thinking. Our children, David and Catherine, were both grown with families of their own. David lived in Atlanta with his wife and 2 daughters. Catherine was in Raleigh with her husband and newborn son. We'd just celebrated the baby's baptism last month. Robert had given a toast about family being the foundation of everything. I'd watched him tear up during his speech. I thought about our life together. The house we'd restored room by room, the trips to Europe to study architecture and literature, the Sunday dinners with the children, the garden we'd planted together, full of camellias and azaleas and the climbing roses I'd trained over the back fence. 38 years of shared history, and I'd never once suspected. But I wasn't going to cry about it. Not yet. First, I was going to do what I'd always done when faced with a problem. I was going to make a plan. By Tuesday morning, I had one. Robert left for the office at 8:30, kissed me goodbye like he did every morning, told me he had a late meeting. I smiled and told him I loved him. He said it back. The ease of his lie was almost impressive. I waited until 9. Then I called our daughter. Catherine, honey, I need to ask you something, and I need you not to ask me why just yet. Mom, you're scaring me. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just need to know. If I needed to stay with you for a few days next week, would that work? There was a pause. Of course. But Mom, I'll explain everything soon, I promise. Can you just tell me yes or no? Yes. Absolutely yes. The guest room is always ready for you. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll call you in a few days. Next, I called my attorney. Not our family attorney, Jonathan Rice, who'd drawn up our wills and handled the house closing. I called Patricia Hartwell, a divorce attorney I'd met through my book club. We'd become friendly over the years, bonding over our shared love of Jane Austen and our mutual appreciation for characters who refused to be victims of circumstance. Patricia, it's Beth Morrison. I need to schedule a consultation. Of course. What's this regarding? I need to discuss divorce proceedings, and I need to discuss them before my husband knows I'm considering it. Another pause. Then, in a voice that had gone entirely professional, can you come in today at 2? I'll be there. The meeting with Patricia was efficient and clarifying. She explained South Carolina's equitable distribution laws. She explained what I needed to document, what evidence would be relevant, what timeline I should expect. She explained that infidelity, while morally significant, wouldn't necessarily impact the division of assets unless I could prove he'd spent marital funds on the affair. I showed her the hotel receipts, the restaurant bills, the credit card statements. Her expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition of a fellow strategist. This is excellent documentation, she said. But I have to ask, are you certain you want to proceed? Some couples recover from infidelity. There's counseling, mediation. Patricia, he's been planning to leave me. He's just waiting for what he considers the right moment. I'm not interested in fighting for someone who's already gone. I'm interested in protecting myself and making sure I'm not blindsided when he finally works up the courage. She nodded. Then here's what we're going to do. Over the next 3 hours, we built a strategy. Patricia would draft the divorce papers, but hold them. I would continue to gather evidence. I would transfer my personal inheritance, the money my parents had left me that I'd kept in our joint investment account, into a separate account in my name only. I would document everything. And when I was ready, when I had everything in place, I would file first. The element of surprise, Patricia said, is something people underestimate in divorce proceedings. If you file first, you control the narrative. You're not the abandoned wife. You're the woman who made a choice. I drove home thinking about that. The narrative. The story we tell ourselves and others about our lives. Robert had been writing a story where he was the man trapped in a comfortable but passionless marriage, working up the courage to pursue real happiness. I was going to write a different story. One where I was the protagonist, not the supporting character in his midlife crisis. That evening, Robert came home at 7. No overnight bag this time, since it was Monday. He kissed my cheek, asked about my day, told me about a new project he was consulting on. I served the chicken piccata I'd made, poured the wine, listened to him talk. He was a good conversationalist, my husband. Charming, intelligent, a skilled liar, I was learning. After dinner, he went to his study to catch up on some emails. I cleaned the kitchen, made myself a cup of tea, sat in the sunroom with a book I wasn't reading. Around 10, he came to bed. He fell asleep within minutes, the way he always did. I lay there in the dark, listening to him breathe, and planned my next move. Tuesday arrived. Robert went through his usual routine: coffee, newspaper, shower. At breakfast, he reminded me about his late meeting. "I might not be back until tomorrow morning," he said. "The presentation is running long, and if it goes past 10, I'll just get a hotel room rather than drive home tired." "That's very sensible," I said. "Drive safely." After he left, I opened my laptop. I found Melissa Patterson's Instagram account, which was public. She was pretty in the way younger women often are: effortless, fresh-faced, comfortable in her skin. Her bio said she was an interior designer specializing in historic homes. Her photos showed restaurant meals, design projects, a golden retriever named Biscuit. In one photo from September, there was a man's hand visible, holding a wine glass. The watch was Robert's. I recognized the vintage Omega I'd given him for his 60th birthday. I scrolled through her followers until I found her business account. Patterson Design Studio. Professional email listed right in the bio. I opened a new email account under a fake name, jennifer.martin2024@gmail.com. Then I composed a message. "Dear Miss Patterson, my name is Jennifer Martin, and I'm organizing a surprise 65th birthday celebration for my brother Robert Morrison. His wife is planning to be out of town visiting their daughter that weekend, and we thought it would be wonderful to gather his closest friends and colleagues for an intimate dinner party at their home on Saturday, November 2nd, at 7 p.m. I understand you've worked with Robert on several projects, and he speaks very highly of you. We'd be honored if you could join us. The address is 89 Trad Street. Please RSVP to this email. It's very important that this remain a surprise, so please don't mention it to Robert if you happen to speak with him. Warm regards, Jennifer Martin." I read it 3 times, checking for anything that might raise suspicion. Then I hit send. The response came within 2 hours. "Dear Jennifer, how lovely. I'd be delighted to attend. Robert has become such a dear friend, and I'd love to help celebrate. I'll be there at 7 p.m. sharp. Should I bring anything? Best, Melissa." I stared at that word. Friend. The audacity was almost admirable. I responded, "Just yourself. Looking forward to meeting you." Then I started making calls. First, David. "Honey, I need you and Jessica and the girls to come to Charleston on Saturday, November 2nd. I'm planning something, and I need you all here." "What are we planning?" "A surprise for your father. I'll explain when you get here. Can you make it?" "Sure, Mom. We'll drive down Friday night." Catherine was next. "Sweetheart, change of plans. Instead of me coming to you, can you and Michael and the baby come here on November 2nd? "Of course. But Mom, what's going on? You sound strange." "I promise I'll explain everything soon. Just trust me. I need you here." Then I called my sister-in-law, Robert's sister Linda. We'd always gotten along well. She lived in Columbia, about 2 hours away. "Linda, it's Beth. I'm planning something for the 2nd, and I need you here. Can you come?" "Planning what?" "I can't explain yet. But I really need you there. 7 o'clock. "Beth, you're worrying me." "I know. But will you trust me?" A long pause. "Yes, I'll be there." Finally, I called my best friend Margaret Chen, who'd been my colleague during our teaching years and had been by my side through everything from my mother's death to Catherine's difficult labor with the baby. "Marg, I need you to come to dinner on November 2nd, and I need you to promise you'll be there no matter what." "What's happening?" "Robert's having an affair. He's been having one for months. I've documented everything. I've seen a lawyer, and I'm going to confront him. But I'm not doing it quietly, and I'm not doing it alone. I'm inviting his mistress to the house, along with our children, his sister, and you." The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. "Margaret, I'm here. I'm just processing. Beth, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything. Then I'll be there. What do you need me to do? Over the next week, I prepared. I transferred my inheritance funds. I organized all the documentation Patricia had requested. I bought groceries for dinner. I cleaned the house. I acted completely normal with Robert, who continued his Tuesday overnight trips and his Wednesday morning returns, always with the same story about how productive the meetings had been. On Wednesday, October 30th, I sent one more email to Melissa Patterson. Dear Melissa, just a reminder about Robert's surprise party this Saturday at 7 p.m. We're so looking forward to meeting you. The front door will be open, so just come right in. Best, Jennifer. Her response, looking forward to it. Saturday arrived. David and his family got to the house at 3. Catherine and Michael arrived at 4 with the baby. Linda showed up at 5:30. Margaret came at 6. Robert had gone golfing that morning. He texted at 2 to say he was grabbing drinks with his golf buddies and would be home by 6:30. I texted back a cheerful, "See you then." By 6:15, I had everyone assembled in the living room. I'd set out wine and cheese. I'd explained nothing yet, just asked them all to trust me and wait. David kept giving me concerned looks. Catherine was pacing with the baby. Linda looked confused. Margaret, who knew the full story, sat quietly in the corner, her face unreadable. At 6:28, I heard Robert's key in the door. He walked into the living room and stopped. "What's this? What's everyone doing here?" "Surprise," I said calmly. "We're having a family dinner. I thought it would be nice to get everyone together." He looked confused but pleased. "What a wonderful idea. Let me just go change." "No need," I said. "We're very casual tonight. Come sit down. We're still waiting for one more guest." "One more? Who else is coming?" "You'll see." At exactly 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I stood up. "I'll get it." I could feel everyone watching me as I walked to the front door. Through the sidelights, I could see a woman with long dark hair, holding a bottle of wine, smiling. I opened the door. "Melissa, thank you so much for coming." Her smile faltered. "I'm sorry. I think there's been some confusion. I'm here for Robert Morrison's birthday party. Jennifer Martin invited me." "There is no Jennifer Martin," I said pleasantly. "There is no birthday party. But please, do come in. We have so much to talk about." The color drained from her face. "I don't understand." "I think you do. But let me clarify. I'm Beth Morrison, Robert's wife of 38 years, and I've invited you here tonight so that we can all discuss your relationship with my husband, in front of our children, his sister, and my best friend. So please, come in." Behind me, I heard Robert say, "Beth, what's going on?" I turned to look at him. He was standing now, his face pale, his eyes darting between me and Melissa, who was frozen in the doorway. "What's going on?" I said, my voice steady and clear. "Is that I've known about your affair since October 22nd. I've documented every Tuesday night at the Charleston Place, every restaurant charge, every text message about how you can't wait to tell me so you can finally be together. And rather than have this conversation in private, where you could manipulate the narrative and control the story, I decided to invite everyone who matters to witness the truth." The room was absolutely silent except for the baby, who made a small cooing sound. Melissa spoke first, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. He told me you two were separated. He said you were just waiting for the right time to file for divorce. He said—" "He lied," I said simply. "To both of us, apparently. Although I suspect he lied to you a lot more than he lied to me. I always knew where he was. He just didn't know that I knew." Robert found his voice. "Beth, please. Let's talk about this privately. This is between us." "No," I said. "This stopped being just between us when you involved her, when you spent our money on hotels and restaurants, when you made plans for a future that required dismantling our family. Our children deserve to know why their father is about to move out. Your sister deserves to know why she won't be seeing you at family dinners anymore. And I deserve to have witnesses to the truth, so you can't rewrite history later." David stood up. His voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. "Dad, is this true?" Robert opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Melissa, still standing in the doorway, looked at me. looked at his children. "I never meant for it to happen like this," he said finally. "But you meant for it to happen," Catherine said. She was crying now, holding the baby tight. "You meant to leave, Mom. You meant to blow up our family. It's not that simple," Robert started. But Linda cut him off. "Don't," she said sharply. "Don't you dare try to explain this. Beth, what do you need from us?" I looked at my sister-in-law, this woman who'd been part of my life for nearly 4 decades, and felt a wave of gratitude. "I need you all to remember this moment," I said. "I need you to remember that I didn't fall apart. I didn't beg. I didn't give him the opportunity to make me feel small, or crazy, or paranoid. I gathered facts. I made a plan. I protected myself. And I'm telling you all now, I've already seen a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. I will keep this house. I will keep my dignity, and I will move forward with or without his cooperation." Melissa was backing away from the door now, still holding the wine bottle. "I'm going to go. I'm so sorry. I really didn't know." "I believe you," I said. And I did. She was a pawn in whatever midlife crisis Robert was having. She wasn't the villain. She was just young and naive enough to believe a man who told her what she wanted to hear. After she left, Robert tried again. "Beth, please. 38 years. We can work through this. We can go to counseling." "I made a mistake, but—" "You made a choice," I corrected. "Multiple choices. Over 4 months. You chose to lie to me. You chose to spend our money on another woman. You chose to plan a life without me while letting me believe we had a future together. Those aren't mistakes. Those are decisions." "Mom's right," David said. "Dad, I don't even know what to say to you right now." Robert looked around the room at the faces of everyone who mattered to him. His children, disgusted. His sister, disappointed. His wife, done. "Where am I supposed to go?" he asked quietly. "That," I said, "is no longer my problem. But I'd suggest you not go to a hotel tonight. The Charleston place might be awkward, given the circumstances." He left 20 minutes later with a suitcase I'd packed for him earlier that day. I'd put it in the guest room, filled with a week's worth of clothes and his toiletries. I'd thought of everything. After he was gone, Margaret opened another bottle of wine. Linda ordered pizza. David and Catherine took turns holding the baby and processing what had just happened. We sat in my living room, this room where I'd hosted birthday parties and book clubs and Christmas dinners, and we talked. "Mom," Catherine said at one point, "I've never seen you like this. So calm, so controlled." "I spent 33 years teaching teenagers," I said. "I learned a long time ago that the person who stays calm has the power. The person who plans has the advantage. And the person who strikes first controls the narrative." "You're kind of terrifying," David said, but he was smiling when he said it. "I prefer to think of myself as formidable." Margaret raised her glass. "To Beth, the most formidable woman I know." We all drank to that. The divorce took 6 months. Robert tried to contest it at first, tried to argue for reconciliation, but Patricia was ruthless and efficient. We had documented evidence of the affair, of the marital funds spent on hotels and dinners, of his intent to leave. South Carolina's equitable distribution meant I got the house, the one I'd helped restore and had lived in for 27 years. I got half of his retirement. I got half of everything we'd built together. Robert married Melissa 8 months after our divorce was final. I heard it through Linda, who called to tell me but made it clear she hadn't attended the wedding. They moved to Mount Pleasant, into a modern condo that Melissa designed. I heard it didn't work out, that the reality of being with a man who'd cheated on his wife of nearly 4 decades started to weigh on Melissa once the excitement wore off. I heard they separated after a year. I didn't ask for details. It wasn't my story anymore. I still live in the house on Trad Street. I've redecorated the study, turning it into a library. I've joined a new book club, started volunteering at the Gibbs Museum, taken up watercolor painting. My children visit regularly. David's daughters spend weekends with me, and I teach them to garden. Catherine brings the baby over every Sunday for brunch. Margaret and I traveled to Italy last spring, something I'd always wanted to do but never managed during my marriage. We saw Florence and Rome and Venice. We drank wine in trattorias and visited churches and galleries. I sent a postcard to Linda. Turns out I didn't need a husband to see the world. I just needed time and a good travel companion. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that moment when I opened the Ring app and saw Robert loading the overnight bag into his car. I think about how my world could have shattered right then, how I could have called him, crying, how I could have begged him to come home, to choose me, to remember our history. But I didn't. I chose myself instead. I chose clarity over chaos. I chose strategy over surrender. And in doing so, I discovered something I hadn't known about myself in all those years of being a wife and mother and teacher. I discovered that I was stronger than I'd ever had to be. That when pushed to the edge, I didn't fall apart. I planned. I executed. I survived. The woman I was before October 22nd might have been devastated by betrayal. But the woman I became after it? She was someone who knew her worth, someone who refused to be written out of her own story, someone who understood that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is open the door yourself, look your truth in the eye and say, "Come in, we need to talk." And that, I've learned, makes all the difference.